I'll be discussing, the status of IAS 8 in the context of IFRS 18. Once again, the status of IAS 8 in the context of IFRS 18. As we may all have known before now, the IFRS 18 was issued in April 2024. The title of IFRS 18 is Presentation and Disclosure in Financial Statements. This standard is set to supersede IAS 1, titled Presentation of Financial Statements. And the mandatory applicable date of IFRS 18 is January 1, 2027. With the introduction of IFRS 18, there are a whole lot of consequential amendments to almost all of the standards, either in certain wordings, except for maybe IAS 39, that is Financial Instruments Recognition and Measurement, the transiting out standard, so to speak, and IAS 23, Borrowing Cost. Apart from or an adjustment in one way or the other, by the introduction of IFRS 18, there is one standard that has the massive, that has undergone a massive consequential effect as a result of the introduction of IFRS 18, and that standard is IAS 8. Currently, or as issued and applicable in its current form, IAS 8 is titled Accounting Policies, Changes in Accounting Estimates and Errors. That is the title of IAS 8. With the introduction of IFRS 18, that has led to the retitling of IAS 8. IAS 8 has been retitled, and the name with the retitling is Basis of Preparation of Financial Statements. Basis of Preparation of Financial Statements. That is the title of IAS 8. So what's the link and what's the clarity? The retitled IAS 8 is not applicable before the application of IFRS 18. IAS 8 titled Basis of Preparation of Financial Statement cannot precede the application of IFRS 18. In other words, the retitled IAS 8 is only applicable concurrently with IFRS 18. Going by the mandatory applicable date, IFRS 18 and the retitled IAS 8, known as Basis of Preparation of Financial Statements, are mandatorily applicable from January 1, 2027. If an entity chooses to early adopt IFRS 18, which is presentation and disclosure of disclosure in financial statements, that entity will be required to concurrently also early adopt IAS 8 that has been retitled. So that is it. So an entity can only apply the retitled version of IAS 8 when that entity applies IFRS 18. When an entity is waiting or plans in ahead or in advance that IFRS will become mandatorily applicable in 2027 January 1, that is when the retitled version of IAS 8 can be applied. Now that's settled. That's said. What are the changes that have been brought with the retitling of IAS 8? What is the status of IAS 8 in the context of content with the issuance of IFRS 18? Is it just in the name changing from accounting policies, changes in accounting estimates and errors, to basis of preparation of financial statements? It is not just in the name. So this is the detail concerning the change that has occurred. We'll be looking at the provision of the new, the retitled IAS 8, right, to look at those core changes that have been introduced. The current IAS 1 has some provisions we're all familiar with, provisions concerning sources of estimation uncertainty, the need to disclose, for example, sources of estimation uncertainty, the need to give a position on the going concern status of an entity, the concept of the acquired concept of accounting is contained in IAS 1, and some other provisions. So with the issuance of IFRS 18 that supersedes IAS 1 mandatorily in the future, some provisions of IAS 1 have been transferred to the retitled IAS 8. Some provisions of IAS 1 have been transferred to the retitled IAS 8. So those provisions of IAS 1 are no longer contained in the superseding IFRS 18. Rather, they've been moved to IAS 8. So we'll be going through the provision, the paragraph in specific forms of IAS 8 that is the retitled IAS 8, mentioning or bringing out those provisions of IAS 1 that have been repositioned to the retitled IAS 8. So we'll start with the earlier part of the retitled IAS 8, and then want to dwell on paragraph 6. There is a paragraph 6 in IAS 8. Rather, the retitling of IAS 8 has led to the introduction of paragraph 6A down to maybe paragraph 6N or thereabouts. So we'll be going through them. Now, the question is, what is this title or the caption? Or what are the new captions that have been brought about by the relocation of certain provisions of IAS 1 into IAS 8? So we'll go straight to paragraph 6A, as I've just said. We'll be taking them down. Now, the heading of the retitled IAS 8, starting from paragraph 6A downwards, is basis of preparation, hyphen or dash, general matters. Base of preparation, hyphen, that is a dash, followed by general matters. Now, this aspect, paragraph 6A, in the retitled IAS 8, called or known and addressed as base of preparation of financial statements, paragraph 6A, all down the way to paragraph 6N, right? Contain certain provisions of IAS 1 that were transferred. But the general heading or the general caption given to this provision in the retitled IAS 8 is base of preparation, just general matters. Now, in summary, we do not intend to begin to read out paragraph 6A to B to C down to N. We do not intend to read that out. But the summary of this is that there are certain general provisions contained in IAS 1 that is on its way out. There are certain provisions which have been relocated here. So those provisions deal with things like, to be specific, we recall, under IAS 1, you are required to make a statement of explicit compliance to the application of IFRS. A preparer, a reporting entity, is required to make a statement, an explicit, an explicit, not implied, not a statement of explicit compliance with application of IFRS. That wording in financial when we say that these financial statements are prepared under the International Financial Reporting Standards. So that aspect of IAS 1 has been moved to the retitled IAS 8. So this paragraph 6A to 6N contain, these paragraphs 6A to 6N contain all of those kind of provision concerning, the quality or the attribute or the feature of what can be taken as general purpose financial statements. The features, the attributes of general purpose financial statements, timeliness, relevance, and all that. And within this paragraph, it also contains the need to make that explicit statement of compliance to international financial reporting standards in the presentation of financial statements. So that is the aspect, that is summary of the provision of paragraph 6A to paragraph 6N. All of those quality features of financial statements or general purpose financial statements, and all of those things dealing with, rare circumstance where an entity may depart from the provision of an IFRS. All of those provisions we know and we associate the IAS 1, all of the provisions have been moved to paragraph 6A and 6N of IAS 8, retitled Basis of Preparation of Financial Statements. So, and like I said before, the general heading is Basis of Preparation, General Matters. So that is the general heading or caption for the provision of paragraph 6A to paragraph 6N. Now, within this general provision or caption, there are subcaptions in the retitled IAS. One of them is fair presentation and compliance with IFRS accounting standards, as I've said. I don't need to repeat it. Fair presentation and compliance with IFRS accounting standards. So, that is contained within this paragraph. Now, just a comment. When we go through IAS 8 and even the new IFRS 18, we see the expression IFRS accounting standards. That is the preferred nomenclature going forward to be used to refer to IFRSs. So the issue of whether IFRS, is it singular, is it plural, is it IFRS standard, is it IFRS framework? So within the provision of the retitled IAS 8 and the new IFRS 18, IFRS accounting standards as a nomenclature or expression or a term or a concept, has been introduced in line with what the board did with the amended IFRS SME, right? The updated, what can be taken to be version 3 of the IFRS SME. So that expression, that term, IFRS accounting standard was introduced. So for the singular form, it is IFRS accounting standard, singular, plural form, IFRS accounting standards. So just to clarify and for us to note. And we should also note, when we're making that statement of fair presentation and compliance, to say these financial statements have been prepared under or using we say IFRS accounting standards. We don't need to add IFRS interpretation, SIC interpretation, international accounting standards. By using that term, IFRS accounting standards, it covers all forms, all nomenclature of standard under IFRS, whether they are known as IFRS, whether they are known as IAS, whether they are known as IFRIC, whether they are known as SIC, SIC, IFRIC, IFRIC, whether they are known as SIC or IFRIC interpretations. All of them taken together are referred to as IFRS accounting standards. Just as previously contained anyway in IAS 8 and IAS 1, the IFRS means or consists or is composed of the following: the IFRSs, the IASs, the SIC interpretations, and the IFRIC interpretations. So when that state of compliance, when that state of explicit compliance is made on the application of IFRS, that this financial statement have been prepared under or using the IFRS accounting standards, that's enough. There's no enough adding IAS, SIC interpretation, IFRIC interpretation, because all of them are various forms of IFRS accounting standards. Just a note. So as I was saying before, under the caption base of preparation, the subcaption that comments that precedes the paragraph 6A is fair presentation and compliance with IFRS accounting standards. So this was so in the previous IAS form, but was relocated into the retitled IAS 8. Another caption we'll see is the going concern. The going concern concept are previously contained in IAS 1, that has also been repositioned to the retitled IAS 8, going concern. It is now contained in IAS 8. Another caption we'll see, all within those paragraphs 6A to 6N, within them, mention the first one to be the fair presentation and compliance with IFRS accounting standard. That's the first subcaption. The second subcaption is going concern concept caption. And the third one is the accrual basis of accounting. Accrual base of accounting is currently contained in IAS 1. So this is the top caption that exists in IAS 1 that has been transferred to the retitled IAS 8. So that is that with the aspects concerning the paragraph 6A to 6N of IAS, of retitled IAS 8, that have been transferred from the existing IAS 1. Now we also got another part of the retitled IAS 8 under disclosure. In the current IAS 8, or there's a caption for disclosure, where you disclose those new accounting standards and entity applied for the first time within a reporting year. That is the current paragraph 28 of the existing IAS 8. And also paragraph 29, dealing with voluntary change in accounting policy, what you are to disclose. And the third part is disclosure of accounting policies that have been issued and interpretations, but that are not yet mandatorily applicable. These are the three subcomponents of the disclosure provision under the current IAS 8. Now, in the retitled IAS 8, additional items have been introduced under those disclosure provisions there in the retitled IAS 8. And one of them is disclosure of selection and an application accounting policy. So this is an entirely new provision under retitled IAS 8. Disclosure of selection and application of accounting policy. So in summary, this new intro, if we may want to use that word, this new intro into retitled ISA states an entity shall disclose material accounting policy information. Accounting policy information is material if, when considered together with other information included in an entity's financial statements, I take it again, please. An entity shall disclose material accounting policy information. Accounting policy information is material if, when considered together with other information included in an entity's financial statements, it can reasonably be expected to influence decisions that the primary users of general purpose financial statements make on the basis of those financial statements. So an entity is required to make a disclosure of selection and application of accounting policies. So this aspect of this provision is contained in the current IS1. So that has also been transferred or repositioned in the retitled IS8. So disclosure of selection and application of accounting policy is a new caption under retitled IS8. So it has a whole lot of provision dealing with the need to disclose accounting policy and significant judgment made in the selection application of those policy as we have in the current IS1 though. And also it has a new caption called disclosure of changes in accounting policies. Now it is contained in the current IS8, right, or in the legacy IS8 that's going to be phased out between now and 2027. That entity is to disclose is changes in accounting policy, but that caption is introduced formally as a sub caption to head the provision of those paragraphs. So we want to take notes. And also recall, like I mentioned before, in IS1, we are often required to disclose sources of estimation uncertainty. So the whole of that provision in IS1 has also been transferred or moved to retitled IS8. Let's take note. So that is that about disclosure, the disclosure part. The first one we looked at in paragraph 6A to 6N are about those things bordering on fair presentation and disclosure of compliance to IFRS accounting standard. They also dealt with the going concern concept, number 2. 3, they also dealt with accrual basis of accounting. So that is the component of that structure of paragraph 6A to 6N. On the disclosure part, pinpointedly, the retitled IFRS said this is disclosure to be made with respect to selection and application of accounting policy. That was the first part. The second one, like I said, that currently exists, but the caption was just brought out, disclosure of changes in accounting policy. The first part is on disclosure on selection and application. The second caption is on disclosure on changes in accounting policy. So those are then the third one I mentioned is that disclosure of sources of uncertainty that currently exist in IS1. So these are the basic components. These are the new components of the structure of the retitled IAS8. Therefore, when an entity applies IFRS 18, either as an earlier applier or adopter of IFRS 18, or at the time it becomes mandatory applicable, that entity is to apply the corresponding IS8, which is not the current accounting policies, changing accounting estimate and error, but the retitled IS8 named as basis of preparation of financial statement. Now, it is important because in this new or retitled IS8, those considerations concerning fair presentation and compliance to IFRS accounting standards, dealing with going concern concepts, dealing with accrual-based accounting, dealing with disclosure on selection and application of accounting policy, dealing with disclosure of changes or a change in accounting policy, dealing with disclosure of sources of exceptional uncertainty. All of these are now located in a retitled IAS set known as Basis of Preparation of Financial Statement that becomes mandatorily applicable from January 1, 2027. So when that time comes, or when an entity apply IFRS 13, looking for the relevant provision that will govern all of this or give a guide as to fairness, compliance, disclosure of going concern, and all of that will be seen in the retitled IAS 8 and not the IS1 that is going out of the way. So that is that. That is the essence of this. The status of IAS 8 in the context of IFRS 18. Thank you for joining us in this episode. Continue to watch our videos, going to like them, going to share them. If you have questions, use the chat field or make your commentaries in the chat box. We're going to get back to you, inquiry, and other things that we can do together. Thank you very much. My name is Ojo Samuel. Bye for now.